If you're an Indian expat living in Singapore, this is going to be the most important investment planning video you'll ever watch, because this is not just a video. I built an entire resource for you to follow along. Below this video, you'll see a list of calculators that I'll be using in this video. I want you to pause the videos and follow along with me to do the calculations for yourself. Let's build something in real time today. To introduce myself, my name is Dave. I'm a financial advisor in Singapore, registered with the MAS. But more importantly, I'm an immigrant just like you. 15 years ago, I came to Singapore. We struggled a lot as a family with rent, with education, how to navigate the Singapore system, getting the right schools, and there was always a constant fear of visa renewal for my dad. And the worst moment was when my dad lost his job just before my national exams, O-levels. And as foreigners, you understand how expensive school fees can be. We were draining our entire life saving just so that I can continue studying here. And I studied really hard. I went on to go to the top junior college in Singapore and became one of the top students. I got a scholarship to study asset management in Singapore Management University. And I'm sharing with you all this because this video is something I wish I could have given to my dad 15 years ago, and I hope you don't make the same financial mistakes that we do, so you can have a peace of mind when you're here in Singapore. So let's get right to it. We're going to look at the best way to achieve FIRE, which is financial independence and retire early. It is the moment when your investments become big enough so they can live off just the income that the investments generate. The day you achieve financial independence is the day when your money can work harder for you than you do. But before that, there's also an idea of coast FIRE. Now, I want every one of us who are an expat here to achieve this as fast as possible. I remember as a kid, we struggled really hard financially because we could never make long-term plans. We were always with visa uncertainty, like whether we'll have a contract renewal next year and will we stay here for long term. If you understand the concept of a coast FIRE, you'd have had a lot less pressure as a family, because coast FIRE is the amount of money you have right now. If you had invested it, you can take care of your retirement. It's the minimum amount of money you need so that you can just set it aside and you can retire off of it. I'll explain a lot more about it later on. But let's look at an example. I want you to think of the monthly expenses you will need when you're back in India. I'm going to put 1 lakh rupees per month as an estimate. I'm going to say 30 years old I'm right now, and I'm going to want to retire when I'm 50. When I hit calculate, you will get these two numbers. This is your FIRE number and this is your coast FIRE number. FIRE number is the amount of money you need so that your withdrawals that you can take out from your investments growth is able to give you at least 1 lakh per month. As for the coast FIRE, this is the amount of money you would need to save up when you're 30 so that you don't need to worry about putting in more investments. You can just let this investment grow. So when you want to retire at the age of 50, you're ready. I speak to many Indian expats and they share one concern. They feel like back in India, the market is becoming more competitive. All the youngsters are becoming really up to date, but while they are in Singapore, they seem to lose the competitive edge. And they also scared that when they go back, they might not get the same paying job back in India because the industry could have just moved on. Now, to avoid that fear, you want to get to this coast FIRE as fast as possible, because even if you have prematurely have to return back to India, you know that this investment portfolio will be able to grow on its own without you needing to contribute anything. What you need to do is take a job that is able to pay for your day-to-day expenses, but you know you're going to be financially free when you're going to retire. Now that we have gotten the FIRE number, I'm going to go to the next step. I'm going to look at the monthly savings you require to achieve this number. First, input the maximum amount of money that you have right now that you can invest. Number two is how much can you maximally contribute for a systematic investment plan or a regular savings plan. They call it SIP in India and RSP in Singapore. Sometimes you realize that, hey, I can actually retire earlier. And this is important. The faster you can achieve this financial independence number, the more peace of mind you have, knowing that you don't have to work, you get to work. Feel free to play around with this number, shift the timelines, and see what you get. But when you're ready, I want you to understand one really important thing. In this calculation, I use 7% return. But this 7% isn't nominal returns. Now, of course, I have to say, investment returns are subject to market risk and past performance is an indicator of future results and future performance is never guaranteed. But I want you to avoid one very common mistake. When I talk about 7% returns, it's real returns. It's not the fixed deposit returns you get in India. Many banks in India, for example, in April 2025, were advertising that they're getting a 7% returns on their fixed deposit. But over the span of the last 1 year itself, Indian rupee has depreciated against the Singapore dollar by 9%. You earn 7% but you lose 9%. You'd have been better off putting your money in Singapore bank without earning any interest. So the next part is super important. I'm going to share with you how do you actually build a portfolio that allows you to get real returns. But of course, if you want to just book a strategy session, I'm more than happy to share with you more. When it comes to investing as an expat in Singapore, you can't have a lock-in product. There are many financial advisors in Singapore who are tied to a bank or an insurance company. They are only able to offer you products that require long locked-in periods, like 10 years of lock-in period. That's a problem because you have visa uncertainty. If you have to surrender the policy at the wrong time, you will have heavy surrender fee. What you need to do is have liquid portfolios. Your investments should be based on ETFs, unit trusts, mutual funds, or stocks. You cannot be locking yourself into long-term commitments. Next, your portfolio has to be portable. When my dad first started working, he was working in Qatar and then moved to Russia and then went to Singapore. We are global citizens. We might need to travel to different places and relocate. You need to make sure your portfolio that you build in one country is easily portable without unnecessary taxations. The third things you need to be really cognizant about is in Singapore you have zero capital gains tax, because in India it's common to have 12.5% to 20% taxations from your long-term and short-term investments. In Singapore it's 0%. So you get to keep all the profits that you have. So I want you to optimize it, take advantage of this capital gains free environment. And lastly, Singapore is a financial hub. It has access to the global markets, US, Europe, Japan, China, India, everywhere around the world. You have access to build a diversified portfolio that allows you to take advantages of all this. Now I'm going to really go into detail about creating a portfolio, how we do it for our clients. But if you want a strategy session, go ahead and click the link below and we'll have a one-on-one conversation. It's a lot easier to explain that way. But let's get into the detail, and I really love it. I want to introduce to you something called an efficient frontier. This is a Nobel Prize winning framework that was introduced by Harry Markowitz. This is the foundation of modern wealth management. I'm going to give you an example hypothetical. Let's suppose investing in the Indian market, and that gives you a 10% return, but there's a volatility of 20%. The risk is 20%. And then there is another option to invest in the US market. It has an 8% return, but the volatility is about 15% because it's a more mature market. Most people think that building a portfolio means having some in India and having some in US, but they don't understand the idea of relation. So historically, when the US market underperforms and you have money that's flowing out of the US, you see emerging markets like India outperform because just the capital just moves away from US to India. This shows some sort of like a negative correlation. Let's assume they have a really low correlation or negative correlation. Your risk return won't be a straight line, it will be a curve. You would actually have a lot higher return for the same amount of risk that you would have been needing to take if it was an equally weighted portfolio. The curve that you see here is the efficient frontier. This allows you to get the maximum return possible for that required risk level you're taking. Now when you add a lot of countries, you're able to build a better portfolio essentially. But how do you choose which point along the efficient portfolio do you select? Now this is where you need to also look at another factor, which is called the risk-free return rate. Now this could be government bonds, high quality corporate bonds. If your risk-free return is this amount and you draw a line, the efficient frontier, you will see a tangent. That is the best allocation of your asset, because at this point we have full allocation in a globally diversified equity. If you reduce your exposure to equities and add a bonds, fixed income, your returns would increase for the same amount of risk that you're taking. So it doesn't make sense for you to lie on the efficient frontier. You want to lie on this line. On the other hand, if you want to get a higher return, you would want to short your risk-free asset and invest in equity market. That allows you to get to the outer edge of the efficient frontier. This line is essentially where you should be staying. What I would suggest is when you create a portfolio, you look at the market climate. If you feel like there's a lot more chance of it going bad when the market is all-time high like right now, you might want to have a lot more located in those risk-free assets so that when the market does collapse, you have capital to be able to reallocate this to equities to allow you to have a higher returns. This is what we do for our clients. We monitor the markets, we monitor when is the best time to enter and when do we change the portfolio allocation. If you're interested to see how we can help you achieve your full fire as soon as possible, click the link below and let's see if we get a chance to work together.